Hi everybody, we're here today with Ben Cribbin.
And Ari Bakla.
Thank you. Bateman's Bay state titles, 2023 state titles, sponsored by Campbelltown Hobbies and a whole bunch of other cool people. But Campbelltown's the title sponsor. We just finished practice today, and we're here to do a track walk. Ben's got some really good insights on the track.
What not to do?
No. Some really good stuff.
Look, I found all the pipes. I can tell everybody exactly where they are. Found the apex, both sides. So yeah, we'll take you around the track and we'll give you a rundown of where we're racing today and tomorrow and on Sunday, and how it's going to look for everybody. So we're starting here on the main straight. We've just come across the loop and heading down the grid where everybody will be hoping to start a little bit higher up as they possibly can tomorrow. Where are you aiming for, Ari?
Turn one. You want to be tight, obviously, on the apex, but it's a very, very high speed corner. So you kind of want to be cutting through and then powering past the apex. So if you're not on the throttle on the apex, you're probably going to be a little bit slower. It's a very, very high speed track. It's got quite a bit of elevation from where the loop is to here. I'd say probably 1.5 meters, maybe 2 meters. So it's uphill, and it allows you to sort of really hold some good corner speed through here, and then obviously power through and just let the car drift up wide a little bit if you have to. Just keep that corner speed up. The track's got some really good grip. The surface has an oil binder on it, and it's actually got a little bit of rock in it as well. You don't notice the rocks too much. Looking at them, you'd think, wow, they would probably be quite edgy.
Yeah, it's quite deceptive, I guess. It's looks quite a bit worse than it is to actually drive on. The cars are really soaking it up really well, and the grip combined, I guess, with the oil and whatnot, it's got that little bit of give, especially as you sort of skip across the rocks. So the cars are not actually edgy on the rocks, which is really, really nice. I think driving an edgy car is everyone's worst nightmare.
Yep, 100%.
So we're coming into turn two. So we've sort of pushed wide coming out of turn one. And very similar to turn one, turn two is extremely high speed. You've sort of got to be really, really wide on your entry, and just got to be mindful of the jump on the exit. So you're sort of pushing in, sort of keeping it tight, and pushing wide as you sort of come up the jump face, but you've got to make sure you're sort of square as you hit the jump face. If you're not square going up the jump face, you're going to end up in the psychology services fence. There's been quite a few casualties today in that fence. Colorbond makes a great sound. You punch it off the jump. Further you can go off the jump, the more time you're going to make, as long as you're square. So you're sort of landing probably 3/4 of the way wide on this section of the track, coming into turn three.
There's no down ramp, obviously, here. It's just a flat landing. So it's a little bit tricky. You can get a little bit unsettled. So you do need to sort of watch how far you jump into this corner. But the further you sort of jump into it, because you're carrying more corner speed, the faster the lap will be. There is a little bit of a divot here. If you do catch that, you will traction roll. That one does catch a couple of people out here and there. So you've got to stay on the inside of that. And on the dome, if you can, you pop a wheel on it. The actual pipe comes over the top of it, so you don't want to clip that, definitely. And then it's a really sort of just a straight short shoot. So the tighter you hold this, you square the car up and you sort of punch it straight into that little kink, I guess, and then let the car roll through into the next corner.
So again, sort of coming through here after the little shoot, the main thing is really keeping it tight. So this track's actually got a lot of little subtle features which you don't really notice until you really walk around and sort of feel the car on the track. But like we've got just a little hump on the apex here, but it only goes part way out. But the key thing about this corner is if you're sort of looking from here, it sort of really straight lines you across the double and into the next apex. So if you get that good line through there, you sort of cut tight through here, you can really punch it off this apex, off this little hump, and over the double. So it's really crucial that you're not overshooting this apex here as you're sort of coming through this chute, and then you sort of deliver this in sort of a second phase as a little short sharp punch, and down ramping the double. So 2 key corners, you sort of got to be really close, right on the pipe on that, and again right on the pipe here. So very easy to make a mistake. You're sort of threading a needle. But yeah, we've seen.
I hit that a couple of times. But it's fast when you get it right, you know.
Absolutely.
So it's rewarding, risk for reward, obviously. And when you do get it right, you have enough terminal speed to literally let the car pop over the jump. Naturally, you just downside that again, straight onto the throttle and pop over the next one. The jumps can be a little bit tricky because the track's got a fair bit of grip. The cars can get a little bit unsettled on takeoff. So it's important to get that right, because if you don't get the launch right, your landing usually is also a little bit skewed. And because the track is so big and so fast, it's important to be plush on the landing. Because if you get out of shape, even if you don't crash, if you just get a little bit of a wobble or a wiggle, you're losing a tenth or two every time, you know. So naturally, this one leads into the corner as well, so you don't want to overshoot it. You want to downside it, and you want to set the car up. It's basically a hairpin, and you just drive, again, downside, in and around.
So yeah, that sort of leads you into the next little chute. We've got a little short straight section, apex to apex. We've got 280-degree hairpins, back to back. So it's full noise down this little straight. You're sort of holding it very tight on exit and sort of coming in tight on entry to this next corner. It's a very diagonal line through here, apex to apex. You don't want to be sort of taking a big arc through here. You'll be sort of wasting time and sort of costing yourself lap time. This apex here can actually be quite tricky. If you sort of look, there's a little bit of a feature just on the apex there. There's a little rise sort of as you come into the apex, which can unsettle the car a little bit. I'm actually finding myself, if I'm sort of just that little bit, maybe like a car width off the apex, it sort of sets me up a lot better for the next double section.
100%.
It just makes the car a lot more settled and consistent across this first double. So this first double here is actually quite deceptive. You really want to get yourself out to mid-track. So you sort of push wide, a lot of power coming down on the exit and letting the car pop over the double. But if you have a look at the double, you'll see the second one is actually quite a bit higher than the first one. So the key here is to carry enough speed to then clear this one, and you start down ramping basically exactly where Ari is. So it's sort of really key to get that launch speed correct.
I think I just want to say one thing quickly. When you come into that apex, it's very important to square the car up and get it straight. If you don't get it straight, you end up jumping over the banners. You can see the tire marks on there.
Banner and Campbelltown banner. Maybe a little worse for wear. Sorry, Michael. Sorry, Steve.
It's very, very important to square the car up out of that hairpin and get the car straight, so that you can literally jump straight. It's the furthest part away from the driver's stand, and I won't say it's the hardest part, but it's quite important to get this right, you know. And if you do square the car up on exit of that hairpin, you get this section pretty much every time, as long as you have enough speed to get over that first double. And then the second one is just literally, it's got a massive downside to
massive
that.
bowl.
So, it's very easy to get it right when you get it right. And then again, not much power needed, a little bit of a squirt, and you land on the downside or the flat of that tabletop, I guess. And the stock guys and the mod cars are both able to do all of those jumps.
Yeah, so sort of just let the momentum of the car do its thing, rather than sort of using power to clear those jumps. It's really about the momentum of the car. It just sort of carries and floats and lands nice and plush. So landing this second double, on the tabletop here, we've actually sort of got two lines coming through this one. You can sort of keep it narrow and tight, but you'll see here, if you look across the track, that going across the track actually has quite a bit of an elevation change. So there's quite a banked corner. So you can either land tight and hold it tight, but what that means is you don't actually get much of a run to this next little triple section. But if you actually go mid-track and sort of square the corner off a little bit more and sort of sit the car further towards the middle, you sort of extend the run of that downhill sort of section into the jumps by about a metre or a metre and a half. So that sort of lets you carry a lot more speed, whether that means you can make the triple or you're doing a double single, and can make all the difference where you're placing the car, landing that double, as to where the car's going to be after the triple.
The stock guys and the mod guys in two-wheel drive will do a double single. The four-wheel drive mod guys will triple it, and I'm pretty sure the four-wheel drive stock guys are tripling that as well, because you get a nice run up to it. You can actually clear it in two-wheel drive mod as well, but it's actually really difficult, very risky.
Yeah, sort of being right on the beach as well. The wind has been sort of picking up and dropping off sort of all day. I'm not sure if for those of you who haven't been here, sort of about 100 metres that way is the shoreline. So right now we can literally hear the waves smashing on the beach. So we're lucky we're not here in summer, because I'm pretty sure most of these people will be like, where have we gone for the race? We'll find ourselves catching a bit of sun instead.
This next corner is quite important. I find it's you obviously got to get the jump section right. In four-wheel drive, if you do triple it, you downside the third jump, and it sort of not pushes you, but you get a lot of momentum coming down here, and you kind of need to hold it as tight as possible, because it's a straight line through there. If you come out wide, if you push too far out, you then end up having to snake it around and losing lap speed and lap time. So nice straight line, as tight as you can, straight line through there. Usually get on the power a fair bit.
Yeah, on the power quite a bit, sort of exit of each one of these. But yeah, this little 2 or 3 metres of track really sets you up for the next. The
If
next
you get that
15
wrong,
metres.
you basically get the next two corners wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. They're all connected. So yeah, sort of punching through there and trying to hold as much corner speed as possible. So there's no straight line through here.
Yeah.
So the cars are weaving through here quite a bit. So sort of every millimetre you can gain on every apex is rewarding you with more and more lap time. So it's sort of, I guess, a section where people who are pushing are making a lot of time, but it's a high risk situation. The tyre's got a few little marks appearing. But yeah, it's actually a fantastic section to drive through. It's so much fun.
Yeah, you can make up a lot of time. If you get it right, you make up a lot of time. If you get it wrong, obviously, you lose a lot of time.
Absolutely.
And it's a little bit hard to see as well. There's not so much blind spots, but because the track's so big, it's deceiving where the actual apex or the corner is. So you kind of sort of almost work off feel and muscle memory to get these sections right. But again, you can hold so much corner speed. The lateral speed of the car is quite high because it's such a big circuit.
Yeah, it's definitely a very high-speed track, very open, very flowing. There's a lot of sections where you're sort of using a lot of power with the car. Just trying to put that power down and make lap time on every apex, really. Coming out of this sort of switchback sort of section, we're coming into a single with a flat landing again. So it's really crucial that along here, you actually sort of need to push the car a little bit wide and then turn in and square up sort of just as you hit the jump face. So this jump's actually quite challenging. It's quite tricky to get right. We sort of had quite a few people sort of landing and getting a bit sort of squirrely on the landing and losing time that way.
You can really power through that corner. We'll call it a sweeper. And if you don't square the car up before it takes off, the car ends up on the wrong side, say on its side, and then you just, bucking and weaving on the landing. So not in modified, we land about here.
Yeah, it's quite the jump.
So you can actually utilize the jump to lower your lap times if you get it right. You've got to land on all fours, though. because there's no down ramp, there's no downside. So you're literally flat landing, and then when you land, you actually give it a little bit of throttle, especially mod, a little bit of a squirt to get to the hairpin.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a punch to the hairpin, but you also see as well, we're then just going over a little hump here into a downhill to the hairpin. So you're sort of downhill braking, which sort of means the car sort of is unloaded, heading into this apex. So the car just loses that sort of settled sort of feeling in that last meter. You sort of have that confidence, and then as you approach the apex, the car just
Washes.
Yeah, it just sort of loses a fraction of grip, and you think, oh, what's going on? But again, hairpin 180, hold it tight. You really want to be sort of putting a couple of wheels on that dome. It's a bit hard to see, obviously, it's a long way from the driver's stand. But yeah, I think most guys are getting this sort of pretty tight, pretty sort of tidy corner. Punching out, the stock guys are all making this jump as well. So you punch out of this corner, keeping it tight. Head to mid-track to a little bit wide even to set yourself up, heading around into the main jump section. You probably want to hit this sort of around a third of the way, sort of into the track, I guess. And sort of just let the car float over the double. So it's quite an easy double to make, and it's very easy to over jump this. I was guilty of this a lot today. Over jumping this double and then flat landing, which then unsettles the car heading into the main jump. So this jump here is all about getting the distance right, sort of judging your speed and down ramping so the car's settled for the next corner heading into the main jumps.
Yeah, if you over jump it, you end up flat landing, and because it's on a corner, your natural progression is to then turn. So as soon as you flat land and turn, the car just literally traction rolls. So you have to get it right, and then when you get that right, you downside that, the corner ends up the terminal speed of the car from there ends up almost the perfect speed to get over this next double in modified anyway. Maybe the stock guys need to give it a little bit more, but probably I'm literally quarter throttle if that through here, because it's got a really big up ramp.
So this up ramp is super aggressive. We'll sort of get a side profile on it. It's got a mean sort of takeoff, which really sends the car really big. So it's sort of short, sharp, and aggressive, which sort of pops the car really high, heading over this little section. So the car goes quite a distance.
I want to say it's easy. Don't think it's hard. If you, as long as this, you get the car speed right, which is
difficult.
True. But this, it's almost the slower you go through this, over this jump, the easier it is to drive over it.
Yeah, if you're pushing the car to attack this jump, it's not going to work out. Definitely not. So the car pops over this jump, and you sort of really got to down ramp this next section. So again, the down ramp is the key. Stock guys are making this jump. Everyone's making this jump. It's not a challenging distance, but the down ramp is the key. Now, especially for the stock guys, I believe the stock guys are making the triple.
They can definitely in four-wheel drive. There was a couple of guys that did try it in two-wheel drive. They did make it, but it was very risky. They were only just making it. This section of the track actually has carpet on it. It's the only section that's carpeted. It's actually quite similar in terms of traction. You don't even notice that it's carpet. It's been there for a little while, so it's sort of weathered in and bedded in. We did have to make a little bit of a change this morning. There was an extra little piece of carpet that was sort of creating a little bit of a bump on the upside of that. And because when you downside this, you power into this and then triple, it was making it a little bit difficult with that extra little bit of carpet there. So they pulled that off. They acknowledged, that there was a bit of an issue there, so they took it off. And as soon as they took it off, it was I'll say perfect, back to normal, whatever. And again, in mod, two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, we triple that. That's going to be make or break.
Definitely.
Come finals time. I think, if you're battling, and especially like, the last couple of laps or whatever, you get a bit edgy or nervous or whatnot. If there's wind, it's going to really, maybe even
might decide the title.
Decide the title. Yeah, exactly. So
it's actually quite a difficult jump to get the distance right. Over jumping this in mod is really easy. And as soon as you start over jumping, you're flat landing again, and you're pushing really wide on the final corner, which is just leaving the door open by 1 metre, 2 metres even, for anyone to sort of pop up the inside and take that place.
The only good thing there, though, is it's almost like a berm.
Yeah,
So you
really
can
banked.
sort of pull it back in. It doesn't fall away. It does sort of cut back in. But it's definitely a passing opportunity when you get it right, I guess.
Drag race to the line, essentially. It will, yeah, I think this corner here will sort of be one to watch come finals. People will be battling. There's a few different lines,
Yeah.
depending where you're landing here, whether you're sort of landing tight and then pushing wide on exit, or you're landing wide and then tucking in for that late apex.
They're actually both pretty fast.
Yeah. Yeah, you can sort of afford almost sort of to be out of position a little bit on the landing there, and still sort of make up time on the exit. So yeah, it's a pretty fun track. Obviously, every time I've been down here, I've had a really awesome time. The club put on sort of a great show, sort of really passionate bunch of guys, and the food in the canteen is fantastic.
Yes.
Special shout out to the ladies in there. I've put on 3 kilos today. Yeah, I'll be back for more tomorrow.
All right. Well, that's a track walk for the 2023 Batemans Bay State Titles. Thanks to Campbelltown Hobbies and all the other sponsors. Tour drive day tomorrow. Yeah.
Tour drive, yeah.
Tour drive. Yeah. Cool. I better not bring my 4 drive out. So yeah, we'll be racing.
Racing 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Thank you to Matt and Tony for putting on the live stream. So that everything will be available online, and hopefully everybody tunes in.
Thanks, guys.